The In This League Podcast Network. In this ring, in this corner, Joe Pisapia. This corner, Tim Heaney. Gentlemen, let's go.
Hey, yo, what's up, everybody? It's me, Joey P, and welcome to another edition of In This Ring, the greatest wrestling podcast in the history of the universe. It's me, it's Tim Heaney, and it's the post-mortem from Money in the Bank weekend. And of course, we always like to bring one of our good pals and special guests and true fans. And today, joining Tim Heaney and myself to talk about NXT TakeOver Chicago, to talk about Money in the Bank, it's the one, the only, my other half of the Black Book, my brother, on target man himself, Jake Ciely. Jake, how the hell are you, brother?
I'm doing good. Yeah, the original Razor Ramon of fantasy.
Hey, yo, that's right. You are. All in heel, all in kid. And if you're not familiar with Jake, then I don't know what's wrong with you, but you can follow him on Twitter at allinkid, and he will abuse you on there. So make sure when you follow him, you get ready for that, because he's going to abuse you. That's what he does. And
I do the same to my host. You're not special.
No, I know. That's what I mean. There it goes. It goes already. I abuse everybody. You're not special. So let's start with it. Obviously, a lot to get to. We're going to try to kind of burn this one out here. No breaks. We'll just go straight through.
Oh, it's that type of podcast. All right.
That's right. It's going to be that type of program, baby. Well, we'll see. We'll see how long it goes. If we take a break, we do. We'll see. But let's start with NXT TakeOver. And I just want to put this out here, and I'll put it to you, Tim, first. This is the second time now in a row I felt this, maybe even third. Every time I watch one of these TakeOver shows and then the next night try to watch WWE, it's difficult because I feel like the wrestling level is at such a high bar on the NXT shows, and everything is so simply and effectively done that it almost kind of drags down your appreciation of the big show product. Now, do you agree or disagree with that fact, or are you able to set that aside and just appreciate it for what it is?
I mean, I think you have to kind of put them in different universes still. I know we rave about NXT all the time, and you take this compact, nicely written, swiftly laid out 2.5 hour show, and it actually went a little bit longer than the 2 hours as usual this time.
Yes, it did.
And then you take that and you compare it to the 4.5, 5 hour or whatever.
Yes, the Lawrence of Arabia freaking wrestling shows, which is
the War and Pieces.
By the way, they're co-branded. Jake, did you know that all the pay-per-views are co-branded? I hadn't heard that ever.
I had no idea. And it's like this thing that's never happened before in the history of wrestling.
Right. Like it wasn't like this ever before, right?
Not for the 20 years before this year.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But
Just before the 6-month experiment that they did last year. What to do?
But go ahead, Tim. So you're able to put it aside, right? Basically, that's you're able to compartmentalize better than me, I guess.
It's more difficult to kind of separate what the same product is building in two different areas, but you have to kind of figure the writing staff is different. Triple H's baby versus Vince's baby, basically, is the way I look at it. So.
All right, now Jake, I know you might have a harder time like me compartmentalizing. Do you? Does it drag down your appreciation of the Sunday night pay-per-view after you watch Saturday night and the compact, tight, well thought out, well executed show?
I could see it doesn't for me, but I could see why. The reason why is the I can't even say it, compartmentalized. Blah, blah, blah. I'm just making up a word over there. The reason I can separate the two is because I know, like, the biggest thing is I know we'll probably go through all the matches, but what was the biggest drag of NXT was the Aleister Black fight. And it's like, the thing is, if you look at WWE versus NXT, look at the size difference. The size difference is where I go to first, because there's a lot of people who can't do what the people in NXT are doing from a wrestling. It's just they can't technically do it. It's physically impossible you're not seeing anybody doing the 2.5 flips over the side of the rope, and the fact is
there's no 630s going on. No.
Yeah, exactly. There's nobody's pulling off a 630. I was actually thinking
Seth Rollins, maybe.
Yeah.
Well,
and I actually thought about
more athletic stuff, but sometimes they're discouraged because they want to be. These guys have to work 280 days a year or whatever it is that they're working. Right, So
right.
I think that's part of it too.
Well, and that's the thing is, so you got that, and the bigger guys are going to be able to do less. And then to your point too, is the NXT inherently you can go more out because you're not performing the very next night, and then again on Friday that week at a house show, and then again on Saturday, and then so the fact is like there's just if you understand the difference between the two, you can see why, and so I can separate them. But at the same time, I understand your point. If you're watching specifically from a wrestling standpoint, it is a drop-off in what they do from one night to the next.
All right, fair enough. All right, let's run through. You know what? Screw it. No, let's not run through. Let's go right to the one I
say
want to talk about.
compartmentalize again?
Yeah, that's what.
Word of the day, children.
Word of the day. The toilet paper just came in, kids. Let's talk about Ricochet and Velveteen Dream because
Why not?
Tim knows my expectations of this match were so high, and it's very rare that my expectations are high, and I feel like they've over-delivered. Not just delivered, but over-delivered. From the moment first of all, the build was terrific. It was a good build to the program. Then, from the moment he came out with the Hogan gimmick thing, when Velveteen came out and was doing the ear, going back and forth to the sides and all that stuff, it's just everything he does is just so good. It's so heel. It's so right. It so walks the line on all of these things between the sexuality of the character, between the gimmick of the character, and then, obviously the athleticism of Ricochet. But to me, what was so impressive, and Jake, we'll start with you on this one. What was so impressive to me was the beginning of this match started off as a grappling wrestling match, as a technical wrestling match. And people like to throw shade at Ricochet and saying, well, he's a high flyer, he's a luchador kind of guy, he's never going to, he can't do X, Y, Z. BS, man. BS. He absolutely can. And the build of this match and the layering of it, layer upon layer upon layer, to get to the point where, towards the end, and they're pulling off these enormous changes and drastic momentum switches in the match. And then you've got Velveteen down there saying, you work in bingo halls and all this stuff. And he knows exactly when the camera's on him for those moments. And I don't know, man. To me, this is the pinnacle. And he has the best matches it's him and Aleister Black. It's him and Ricochet. Velveteen is the show for me right now.
Really? That's interesting. I don't know if he's the show for me. Sometimes, some people just they don't connect as well with some characters, and I call them characters. I enjoyed the wrestling aspect of it. I just enjoyed it. If you want to go down that route, I'll definitely go down.
Okay, let's just go down for the wrestling aspect. Do you enjoy I enjoy that more than I enjoy at this point in my world in wrestling and whatnot. As much as great as Gargano-Ciampa is, and we'll get to that in a second.
Right.
Hardcore wrestling, big spot stuff. Yeah, it's great, but that can be done by a lot of people.
Well, I'll give you a good comparison. So, like the match before that we didn't even talk about, the Undisputed Era. Like, I'm not a O'Reilly guy. I'm not actually Undisputed Era type of guy. Like, they just, to me, I'm like,
they're not, but it was a solid match, man.
Well, no, and that's my comparison here. Is like, so like character-wise, I've never been huge on Velveteen Dream or Ricochet, but watching that match as a whole, like if you can't sit back as a wrestling fan and just enjoy the wrestling aspect of it, then you're probably not like a wrestling fan. And that was the comparison I was making. Like Undisputed Era, like when they came over and the whole type of stuff, like I've never been a huge fan of it. Like I'm like, oh my God, I'm so excited to like buy their gear, get excited for it. But when you watch their matches, and to be honest with you, as you said, if you want to just talk about for this entire NXT thing, I don't know, it's two different, like this match stole the show, but the drama of what you said, we'll get to the street fight, I think stole it from a different angle. But
sure, I agree. I would absolutely agree, and that's also because they've had this has been on for a year. So
right.
So, all right, let's get your thoughts on this match. Do you believe that this now shined a different light on Ricochet in terms of what he's able to do, and not being the one-dimensional guy that's, like I said, some people want to throw that out there, but the fact that he showed what he could do just from a technical standpoint before all of the big high-flying stuff, to me, I think that's something that gets lost on people who just see clips on the internet.
Yeah, I mean, people just think about the flippy stuff with him, and that's definitely not the case. Just those matches that people kind of crapped on, the IWC that doesn't like that stuff, and
right.
But yeah, he does have the technical ability to kind of work that complete match, and of course, they've kind of played into what they were talking about with their promos leading into the match. They try to one up each other through the whole thing, and the fact where they were trying to hit all the top rope moves, or Velveteen Dream moved further away and Ricochet tried to hit it and missed and got the knees up, and then Dream tried to do the cross, like the Shane Van Terminator elbow this time instead. He, that was reversed as well. So it was just, the little psychology that plays so well with these two guys. And Dream is, I think, the master of psychology in NXT right now. Or maybe Ciampa as well. But, yeah, I just think that, the Ricochet stuff, he is the complete package. And, maybe the restrictions for the main roster with his size might come into play with how far he'll go. But on in-ring ability alone, there's little holding him back right now.
I hope not. I hope that WWE is evolving, and as Vince gets older, and hopefully the other group really starts to take the reins even more so on the big giant events. So I feel like, they have these good spurts, and then Vince will come in like the WrestleManias and just kind of botch everything. I feel like, and I felt this year with WrestleMania, it was more than ever before, or more than recent memory, where he really came in and I feel like he just screwed the pooch there. And they had a good thing going to a lot of stuff, and then everything just kind of crapped out. All right, let's continue on the psychology note, and let's talk about Nikki Cross, because I find her incredibly endearing. So, I'm not gonna tap out. I'm gonna enjoy. I want you to put me in the hold. I want you to choke me out. I'm gonna go to sleep. It's great. And people say, well, it's not a PG product or whatever it is, or I don't know, but my kids find her endearing too. They think she's nuts and they think it's fun. They're somewhere between afraid of her, incredibly entertained with her, and I think that's exactly where they should be.
Yeah,
silence, radio silence.
these three man shows, man. We need the cues.
I'm sorry, I've been cueing everybody, but that was more the open thing. So
yeah,
we'll start with you, Nikki and Shayna. It wasn't a very long match, but
didn't need to be. Yeah,
right, it didn't need to be, right? And do you think that you can continue to push this feud? Because I think you can.
Yeah, you can get one more match out of it. I think. We were kind of speculating before for the preview episode that wondering when Nikki would join Sanity if she ever does on the main roster this year. And Shayna works good matches, but yeah, she's not going to work these 30-minute marathons most of the time. Even though Nikki could be the one to kind of carry her to that stuff. But yeah, no, Nikki played the part well. Just kind of trying to get into her head as well when they were playing the psychological games there. Like Shayna had played with Dakota Kai and others before this, kind of getting reversed on her is always a good development for character there. And Nikki's the one that's going to take punishment, give it out, and her moves look very effective, look very powerful. So that was a nice match for Shayna. And I didn't think it was the right time to take the belt off Shayna. I think she needs that little bit of a run heading into at least the Royal Rumble takeover weekend. So yeah, I'm happy with the result, happy with the decision there, and it was a good little match. And the ending was a little twisted. And I think that worked for any Nikki Cross match.
All right, let's push on here because I know we got a lot to cover, and let's talk about Aleister Black and Lars. I finally put my finger on it. I feel like that Lars Sullivan, from the tights he wears to the look of him, to the size, to the physique, Jake, doesn't he just reek of 1980s wrestler heel? Like some sort of like if you went on the network and you like flipped on some show from like the NWA or the early WCW days, that face, body, and gimmick would just pretty much be straight out of 1984.
Like he should also be Russian or something like that.
Right, like
kind of looks like it.
Like he's just a big, ugly guy in
just
generic red shorts. Like, he's like generic guy in the red. Like if it was Mike Tyson Punch Out, he'd be one of the early guys.
Yeah.
Version.
No, the hairiness too. I can't get like just shave him down, please. Like I can't. And I said that's part of the reason. Like I just can't get into it because me, Joe. So this is for people that never heard me outside of this show. Is I don't like playing basketball because I don't like people's sweat rubbing up against me. I especially don't want a hairy, sweaty body rubbing up against me. Like it's just. The whole it's kind of grosses me out to watch him, and then this is slow and plot. Like this was a hey, go take your bathroom break type of match, in my opinion. Although it's hard to find one during NXT, I still felt like this was hey, if you want to go get a snack real quick, this is the one you could do.
Well, it's tough because Tim knows I'm a huge Aleister guy. And I love his work. I love his character. I love everything he does. I thought him and Velveteen was one of my favorite matches I've seen in the last 10 years. But I don't think this was his best performance. And I know he had the miss there, too, which, God bless the announcers trying to sell the miss there. And
Lars, because he fell.
And Lars, because he fell. Very Jinder Mahal with the fake whisper in the wind from the Rumble. That's all that kept going through my mind. We were crushing Jinder on that for a good couple weeks on this program. And we will continue to crush him about it because it was hilarious. It was a real true whisper. Nobody heard it except Jinder Mahal. He's the only guy that heard it. But I don't know. Where do you take Aleister from here, Tim? I mean, who's the next best opponent for him as he tries to continue this title run here?
Yeah, do you go Ciampa if they really want to kind of play up Johnny Gargano's absence? Do you go maybe like have a tournament and just have him sit in the sidelines for a while, and they'll determine number one contender that way for the TakeOver Brooklyn. Yeah, I mean, he's kind of playing second fiddle as champion. I don't know if I like that as much, even though the Gargano-Ciampa rivalry is the one that can kind of supersede that for a while. Aleister Black needs that signature title match. I mean, this is kind of like that in between filler type of thing. They just kind of threw Lars in because they really had nobody else going there. So yeah, it's kind of a directionless opening right now for that. But I think they'll settle it in the next month or two, probably.
All right, let's move on here to the big one, and let's talk about it. Gargano-Ciampa. It's some people will say, well, they're beating the horse to death, but you know what? I was on the fence. I was like, how much more can we do here? How much further can we go? But again, they did it. These two just have an incredible rapport with each other, physically, the way they work together, the spots, the storytelling, the psychology. I'll reiterate, to me, this is not – I'm less impressed with this than I am with two dudes in the ring working a match, telling the story just pure choreography based. Because it's easy to do big spots. Or not easy, it's dangerous, but it's easy to get over doing big spots and big moments the way they did. But the heat still is there. Now, I guess the question is, where do you take these two characters from here, Jake? Do you split them off, like you're saying? You put Ciampa with Aleister Black and push it that way? Or what do you do with Johnny Gargano now? What's your perfect vision for this going down the road?
Honestly, I don't know that they're done with it, sadly, is because, well, I mean, look at how it ended.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the fact is the match was won multiple times, but because there's no ref, I kind of get what there was going on with the logic there, but the no ref and the security trying to pull them off, and it's like, well, this is supposed to be exactly what it is, and this is when wrestling logic doesn't match like logic in life. Like if this was truly a street fight and what it was supposed to be, they wouldn't be trying to yank him off of him. It'd just be
there wouldn't be a ref in a street fight anyway.
Right.
I mean, let's be honest. I mean, come on, kids. I mean, it's, let's say what it is. If it's a real street fight, then it should be a count out kind of situation where the guy doesn't get up on a 10 count or something like that. There should be no pins or submissions.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, and that's the thing is, I think that maybe in the interim, to your point, is they could go that direction, but I think we might get another one, whether it's at a next takeover or whatever it is. The problem is if they do, is as your point is, where do you go from that? Like to have what they had, like when was the last time somebody pulled out and had the wood involved underneath the mat? So, I mean, just the whole, what this level of this match went to with the ring and, that storytelling side of it and all that type of stuff. I actually kind of dug the fact that they came out in street clothes. Like there was.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, that's a good touch.
Yeah. It felt like it was more personal, like there was actually a story here. I think this would be the perfect end to it. I thought this would be the end, but the way that the match ended makes me think that this isn't done.
I hope it is done because I would always rather get out on a feud one match early than one match late. And maybe this discussion will come up again when we talk about Nakamura and Styles. I don't know. We'll see where you guys feel about that. But look, overall, excellent show. I think they continue to raise the bar there, and I like how they have some of the other folks in the crowd too, some of the newer talent they just signed. We talked about just last week too. So things going in the right direction. I think EC3 is that next guy they're going to push over there, and they're going to push him hard. Because if you watch the pre-show, I think they were setting that up, and we'll see how he performs.
He's got muscles on top of muscles too. So
he's got muscles and no hair, which is good for you because I know you like his hair. All right, so let's talk about it. Let's go to the main event, as it were, or as it wants to be. Money in the Bank 2018. We'll go through all the matches here. First of all, no surprise because we all knew Bludgeon Brothers were going to retain. I thought. No one's surprised by this. Tim, right? What were your thoughts on this match? What's your takeaway from here?
I mean, pre-show matches are pre-show matches, and Bludgeon Brothers, really didn't have much of a reason to lose here. And Anderson and Gallows, they're always going to be solid in the ring, but they really don't. They're struggling to kind of find that character work for them. I know your clone Carl Anderson can secretly go in the ring really well.
Should they split him up? Should they just say screw it and put him in singles matches at this point?
Do they really need more singles guys? I don't know.
On SmackDown,
can they survive on their own? Can he develop Carl Anderson as a character on his own? I don't know about that.
Well, maybe you don't have to develop him as a character on his own, but maybe you take him out as a singles guy and just let the other guy kind of be his bodyguardish kind of, second guy.
Gallows is no slouch either, though. So I think they work as a tag team. I think that they complement each other. They just kind of have to make the next step with actually making them legit.
I think they've got nothing but street cred, but the problem is that street cred doesn't always translate to this product, Jake. That's how I feel about it. So do you think that the Good Brothers ever really get over here in a big way and have a championship run of I don't know, let's not say the same ilk that they had in the Bullet Club days, but do you think they can reach that level, a good level of success in this company?
No. And it comes down from the start, because what I'll say is it's clear that they don't care about the tag team division anymore. And the fact that this is the kickoff show, the fact that this was kind of a weak storyline to begin with, they're trying to build up the Bludgeon Brothers, which I don't have a problem with. But you're talking about what are your best tag teams? You split them up and used one of their members for the Money in the Bank. There was no other tag team to be heard from. I mean, I was just thinking about it last night. Afterwards, it was strange. I was like getting ready for bed and stuff like that. I was like, you know what? There hasn't been a lot of the bar lately. Like, it's just, they don't do it. And there's so much talent.
Well, I'll take it a step further. How about the Usos? I mean, who's better than the Usos
with the
right
tag
now?
teams.
And it's a shame. It just doesn't seem to, be out there. And look, I understand Money in the Bank is different. You got a lot of people in these matches, and you really, this is the main event storyline of these matches. Is very
but you're telling me we could have had a quality tag team match besides the one that we're going to get to in a few minutes with the stupid Zayn junk?
Oh, 100%. Well, let's just you know what? We'll skip over Daniel Bryan.
Go, Jake, go.
Because I know you listen to the show, so you've heard my Bobby Lashley rants, I'm sure, Jake. So I'm going to
muscular Tiki Barber?
Oh, God.
Oh, I love it. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. God, I love the rage. But it's just so flat. And I said it last week, you're flat and boring when Sami Zayn can't save you. Because Sami Zayn is so entertaining. And I know you're a Sami guy. You're an El Generico Mark. I know that. So tell me, what do you do? Do you just cut your losses with Bobby Lashley, or do you just let him be mid-card fodder? Because if you can't push him with Sami Zayn and make anything work here, and I don't think it was the greatest idea with the sisters and all this thing. I think it was kind of goofy.
That was awful.
But still, it's just there's no connection between him and the audience, between him and what he's doing in the storyline. It's just bad. And yeah, it should have been in the undercard. You're right. So what do you do with Bobby Lashley now, Jake?
He shouldn't even been there to begin with. Like, there's a reason you guys let him go the first time around. And the problem is because they started taking the talent because that's defunct. And he is – I'm going to go back to something you said earlier. The reason you don't do anything with him is because they're going to keep forcing him down our throats because he's a Vince guy. He's huge. He's muscular. He's athletic. Vince loves those kind of guys. It doesn't matter the fact that Wood is more entertaining to listen to on the mic. It's just – he's awful. And the fact is – you look at it and you look at the match, and he basically squashed Sami. I'm more concerned that this means Sami's going to be stuck to the middle card as a middle-y and forget about him now that Kevin Owens is split apart, and they're going to keep pushing Lashley until it's I'm surprised. Like, honestly, how are people not upset with him for the people that love to boo Reigns?
Good point.
Well, no one's watching the match. They can't get upset about it.
That's
the
true.
concession stand in the bathroom.
And what's with
no
the
one
effing
cares enough.
headband?
But
with no hair.
Barber is a great line. That's terrific. You really coined a phrase there. But I think that's it. I think it's better to hate it. Your job as a wrestler is to get some sort of pop, some sort of heat. So if they're booing you, whatever, whether it's because of the company setting you up poorly and they boo you, it doesn't matter. There's just nothing. The worst thing you can be is indifferent. I think the audience is indifferent to him, and that's far worse than anything about Roman that you could possibly say. And I still hold out hope for Sami Zayn. I think that even though it didn't happen, I still say Seth Rollins needs to get into the main title picture, the Universal Championship now, as soon as possible. And when he does, I think that opens up Sami and Elias and a lot of other guys in that Intercontinental possibility too. Let's talk about Daniel Bryan, Big Cass too. Big man taps out again. Daniel Bryan gets over. But overall, I still say it's been a good showing for Big Cass. Where do you take it from here, Tim, with both of these guys? Where would you like to see them go next in a feud? Or do you think this continues? I hope the answer is no out of your mouth, but what is...
I don't think we need to see any more from this. They did they played off the hype gimmick. They played off the I'm more experienced than you gimmick. Told the story. It's done. Big Cass, you thought he might get put over here, but they really must be looking to get Daniel Bryan into that quasi-main eventy type of scene moving forward on SmackDown. maybe some of the other Ring of Honor guy, like, the Samoa Joe feud could go a little bit deeper than it did for the Money in the Bank case. It's, Daniel Bryan's just going to be the workhorse here as well there. There's nothing wrong with that with me. And Cass, I think Cass might need to develop a little bit more with his promos, might need to kind of find a little bit more motivation to kind of be at least a little bit more of a powerhouse there. So, yeah, Cass is kind of in limbo as well to me right now.
Yeah. All right. There you go. How about you, Jake? Thoughts on this one? Big Cass, Daniel Bryan, anything?
No, I think we need to get Daniel Bryan versus AJ Styles is what we need to get. But for Cass, I don't know where you go with him from here. The funny thing is problem with SmackDown is you have more singles heels than you do faces.
Single faces, yeah.
Like who do you turn Cass against now?
Right.
I don't know. It's tough unless you want to really push Rusev as a face, and they seem to want him as a tweener still.
No, just let, for the fact of how much the crowd is, just let Joe turn face.
I don't know, but I think the minute he does, he loses the cachet. I don't
think he will, because
I think he does.
I think it's the quasi. He'll never be a true. I think it'll be kind of back like with Seth Rollins before he became this hot.
That's fair. Or even like early Stone Cold days where he's still just a
right
jerk to everybody and everybody loves it. I mean, if anyone can pull it off, Joe can. So maybe that's the way it goes. Let's continue on here. Let's do Carmella and Asuka, the return of, or AKA the return of James Ellsworth, which was like the worst kept secret ever.
Right.
God,
Dennis Farrell's a bad liar.
Dennis is a bad liar, and I love you, Dennis. You're a terrible liar. But it's, I mean, I hate this. I hate this because I said it before the match. If you don't put Asuka over on frickin' Carmella, you are absolutely crushing her. It's bad enough she took an enormous hit at WrestleMania on that stage, but she's losing all of the heat. She's losing all of that feel of being dominant. James Ellsworth should not freak you out. Asuka should see James Ellsworth take that thing off, and she should run and just punch him in the face. Like that's what Asuka's supposed to do.
She looked like a goober, acting scared of James Ellsworth in her clothing. She's like 30 seconds staring at him like, oh my God, what's going to happen? But dumb.
Do you agree with this, that they're just killing Asuka, and I don't know why they're doing it?
Bad timing for this. I don't mind if they stretch this out and she wins a SummerSlam, but it's really getting tenuous of how they're doing it right now.
Jake, do you think they could stretch it out till SummerSlam? I don't think they can with this.
I wouldn't be surprised if they do, though, because here's the thing: is I understand why this happened, because to your point is, while they're killing her, you couldn't have her lose clean to Carmella. You had to have Carmella win because she just won, and this kind of gives the biggest problem with Carmella too is she can't sustain it on her own. Like even the mic work that she's done, she needs something else. I don't want to see Ellsworth back, but she kind of needs a gimmick with her. So I understand everything behind it. But I'm with you. I think the biggest thing is move Asuka onto something else. Like move her on where she can get back into like that second tier and start dominating again or something. Or hell, have her go down and go down the Shinsuke route. Maybe she turns heel. Maybe she gets aggressively mad and starts. I'm not saying she's not going to crotch kick everybody because she can't really do that. But she could go down.
I think
hey, women's revolution, man, equality, right?
That's right.
The cootie kick.
Anybody can kick anybody in the crotch. That's right. But I just feel like they're just stealing. They built her up so much on the NXT run that I just don't understand. I get the one thing where you want to put Charlotte and build her as the all-time great, and that's fine. And it's not wrong. It's a choice, and it's probably a better long-term choice considering Asuka's age. But to have her even lose not clean to Carmella. Clean otherwise, it doesn't matter. It's a loss is a loss, and it's just, I don't know. I don't like how it's going. Let's talk about the other. Oh, actually, you know what? We have to do them in order. Roman Reigns, Jinder Mahal.
Roman Reigns, the guy who is not that bad.
Wasn't as bad as the crowd made it out to be.
See, and that's my problem. Joe knows this. I am
He's
so
not that bad.
I'm just tired of WWE fans. I'm so tired of it. You didn't even give it a chance. They were booing before the match even started. They started chanting, "This is boring," before it was 30 seconds into the match. They chanting, "This is boring." And I understand Jinder. The part of the problem too is the choice to go. Jinder's slow and plotty to begin with.
Right.
But we're going to talk about it when we get to the match. But that's all I'm going to say for right now, because I'm going to compare it to a match later on. And if I say anything, it's just going to give away. But all I'll say is Joe knows this, and it's been for over a year now. It's I wish there were more hipsters in WWE wrestling because it's cool. They hate Reigns now, so maybe people would stop. Like it's just so annoying.
Good point. I can't argue with the logic. But you continue to go on, just like the song says. Roman Reigns, the guy who is not that bad. He's just not that bad.
And the wettest hair as well, though.
He doesn't have the wettest hair. Roman Reigns. and that's it. I think that's what you're looking at. He's just not that bad, and I desperately want him to go full heel, and him turning on Seth would be the way to do it.
And these people should be happy that it was a mid-card match with him as well. So they're booing him I don't get it.
Booing him for the sake, because it's cool to boo him. So you know what?
So stupid.
Embrace the heat. I keep saying it. I know other people have said it too. I want to say Stone Cold said it or Jericho. One of the two. Somebody said it on a podcast recently. I was listening to.
Everybody has.
Everybody's been saying.
Well, everybody's been saying it publicly. Like, just embrace the heat. And the way you do it is you push Seth to the top of the card. You let him win at SummerSlam, take the belt, and have Roman Reigns immediately come in and turn on him, and boom, you got an instant feud again. And the jealousy of why this guy got his opportunity.
There you go. It's a multi-piece, Joe. Seth wins it. Reigns comes in, turns heel on him, and then they get the cash in the bank. There you go. All in one.
Everything, all the field, everything happens at one time. So it's right there for the taking. So let's talk about the women's Royal Rumble. The women's.
We could.
Well, we talk about no, but let's talk about that. Great match, great energy. Once again, the women. I feel like I think the pace of it was very good in terms of when they. Although nothing I find more amusing than the slow ladder climbing. I love how nobody can climb a ladder when there's no one else in a ring. It's like I could do one step and then another step. It's my favorite part of any ladder match. But I thought it was a good pacing. I thought they had good moments. I hear you go, because I guess you disagree, Jake.
Yes.
What was your angle on this? Why do you disagree? What did you hate about it?
So I hate it, but I already know I'm on an island on this because I've seen a lot of reviews out there and a lot of people. I didn't really like this match because it felt scripted, and I worried. And as soon as I read something before the pay-per-view that said the women have been off shows because they've been working on this match so much, and my initial gut reaction was, oh God, it's going to look like every spot is set up. And that's how, and maybe that colored my opinion going in, but I was watching it and everything looked planned out. It looked like, all right, this is our next move. Okay, this is our next move. All right, you're supposed to do that. And it didn't feel like a wrestling match. And I know we're talking about acting, and I know we're talking about scripted events in general, but this felt more scripted than I've ever seen in a match in a long time. And
you are right. You are not wrong in that. It was.
Yeah, and to your point, by the way, the thing that put the cherry on top was the fact when we got to the top of the belt, she unhooked the clasp.
Yeah.
And stood there with the unhooked clasp for like 3 seconds. And I was like, oh my God, this is awful.
That brought it down for me, that the ending part, Alexa missing her cue or Becky missing or going ahead of the cue, either way, that, like you said, the scripting of it, and then they still kind of had the weirdness. So
it's like, how does this clip work? Do I take it off the clip? Does the clip come off and I take the briefcase only?
Becky had the clip open. It was open.
Poor Becky. Becky looking like, the lame competitor again.
The crowd loved her. You know what? That was an important thing, though, that she got a lot of crowd love in that match, and I think that's important. Yeah. I think it's important for management to see that and be reminded of it.
Yes. Can we build off this a little bit for Becky?
And I think they will. And I think the heat was there between her and Charlotte for sure.
So hopefully they will build off of that Charlotte-Becky heat, and Becky will figure out how clips work in the future. But let's talk about the person who won let's talk about Alexa Bliss. And, my initial reaction, I know Tim tweeted out there, and I kind of piggybacked on top of it, which is, finally somebody who we can sustain a feud with Ronda, who can carry her to a program on the microphone and a storyline, because Nia is clearly not that person. So the first thing I saw was, oh, awesome. This will be somebody that we can have work with Ronda, and that will be good. And I hope Ronda has a good match tonight. We'll see how it works. Mm-hmm. And I didn't expect it to happen quite this soon. There was a thought in the back of my head about it, but the fact that it actually went down that way was fascinating. So I was happy with it. The crowd was happy with it. Tim, were you happy with Alexa, number one, first winning this Money in the Bank, and Len, we'll get to the subsequent cash in later on.
Yeah, I was at first surprised that they actually did go down the road again with Alexa. Then I realized I shouldn't be, because she's still a very marketable commodity. Still the best on the microphone among the women, if not the entire company. And if you don't know what to do, go with the one that's kind of, helped you go in the direction as a leader before, as a champion for a while. Didn't know it would happen immediately, but still the very good, spokeswoman type of thing where you want to kind of build a big main event storyline with the people that you want to push later, i.e. Ronda Rousey. So, I thought they'd go in a different direction, but I guess they're going back to the well, and I don't mind it because she's so good at what she does.
It's a good well, man.
Yeah.
I mean,
exactly.
I'm a fan. Now, Jake, let's transition here to talk about this match with Nia and Ronda. I don't think anybody's ever made Nia Jax look as good or as tough or as strong that I have ever seen. Outside maybe Sasha in some of those matches, like that gauntlet match they had a couple months back, that was pretty good, where Sasha really made her look like an absolute beast. And I was also, I'm going to just say it right. I was skeptical still. I wanted to see what Ronda's going to do on a one-on-one singles match with somebody. And and Nia not necessarily being the person I would choose first to do that showcase with. I thought she did an incredible job selling the hell out of her. I thought she was very impressive doing some big moves with the bigger opponent. And I'm sold. I'm sold on her on the ring. And, she might not have some of the charisma necessarily. She has star power. Charisma, I'm still in the question mark. But in terms of connectivity to the choreography, connectivity in the ring, she did it for me last night. And she did it for me. This is the second time now. And it's a big spot. And I think it's asking a lot of her to go out there in these pay-per-view matches for the first time, really, getting her feet wet on these huge stages. And I got to say, I was impressed. Jake, were you impressed? Because I know you're never impressed by anything.
No, and no, I'm never impressed by anything. I haven't answered that part of it. This is the Amazon box when you just ordered a whole bunch of stuff that you needed, and it's like just various things. So there's a lot to unpack here. I'm going to be digging through the box here for a second. So I will say this. To go back to Roman Reigns, this is
no, why would you do that?
No,
we moved on, man.
Understand. This is what I was hinting at before, which is my problem. This is why I hate the WWE Universe fans, is because they boo the living hell out of Roman Reigns. And what did we do with Ronda Rousey? We brought her in. We shot her near the top immediately. She's god awful on the microphone. Let's be real.
Well, yeah.
But
Point
yet
to the sign.
Everybody cheers the living hell out of her, and it pisses me off. That does nothing but pisses me off because I'm tired of the Roman Reigns hate. So I'm sitting here like, you should hate Ronda Rousey. So that's part one of the box. And let's keep digging here. So to go back to your previous question, I thought the Alexis Bliss thing didn't make any sense to me. It's like, why are we going back to this? We could have given it to Becky. I actually wanted Becky. I thought she was.
We did too.
She had clipped the hook. The hook was open. But anyway, so I
don't understand this whole clip situation. Right. How does it work?
Then we have this match, and I agree with you. I don't like Nia Jax either. I don't like her. I don't think she's very good in the ring.
And I don't like being wrong either. And I know you hate it.
And she's just as bad on the microphone. And I don't understand this whole like smiling but angry, but like pick an emotion. Like I don't know what she is. And so this match comes out, and I will agree with you. Ronda Rousey made Nia Jax look pretty good in the ring for the first time in a while. And for me, that's a testament to Rousey. And what Rousey did also that I liked is she sold the injuries, unlike Big Cass earlier in the match where he got kicked in the leg 15 times and then stands up and it doesn't matter. So he basically pulled the John Cena. So I give her credit for that as well. And then you have the fact that I was worried she was going to win, which I thought was way too early. And again, going back to the Roman Reigns, you should be booing the living hell out of her if they're going to give her the belt already. And then you have the Alexa Bliss, which I thought now made sense. It was perfect. She came in and stole the belt, and she ticked off Rousey at the time by beating the crap out of her so we could be looking at a potential triple threat match. But all that being said, pleasantly surprised, although I still think people should hate her for the same reason they hate Reigns. But she did a lot better than I thought she would, and this match's outcome was 100% different than I thought it was going to be, and I'm happy about it.
I'm very happy about the outcome too. I think we can all agree on that, right, Tim? That, her coming in the way she did it, classic great heel fashion. She's such a lovable, endearing, fun heel. And she's just cute. I gotta love her. She's 5 feet of fury. She comes in there. She's whacking people with a briefcase. She's whacking Ronda Rousey, at one point the most dangerous woman on the planet in real life, once upon a time. And it's just great. I mean, if that doesn't get you over, I don't know what the hell does.
even with the interference and heel stuff, it still legitimized Alexa in the eyes of her facing Ronda in the future because
Yes.
she does know how to get over on her. She knows the
Yes.
psychology thing. Alexa, is pint-sized, but her personality is 7 feet tall, unlike Big Cass's, which is the reverse to me.
And this will be fascinating for her to do too, because
and Nia too, the reverse. As
working
well,
with Nia for Ronda is going to be very different than working with Alexa, somebody who's significantly smaller than her. So that's going to be interesting to watch as well as we go forward here.
They can't overexpose the physicality of it. They have to kind of have Alexa dodge her for a bit to kind of wait to get her hands on Alexa and then have that be like a big pop type of moment, I think.
Yeah. All right, let's go with the WWE Championship match. AJ Styles retains against Nakamura. I was hoping Nakamura would get the belt here.
Yeah.
I think this is a mistake. If you're going to push the feud to this extent, you've got to have the belt change hands. Let AJ Chase change it up, because if you did that, you might even get another program out of it. You might get another month out of this comfortably, because you could see what it would be like to flip it, and that's interesting enough. But once again, I don't know if this is a matter of AJ just not wanting to give it up, or if the company just not still feeling that they can put Nakamura as the face. But if you're gonna put the belt on Nakamura, now is the best time to do it, because if it's an abject failure for a month for some reason, you can get out of it before SummerSlam.
I'm going the opposite direction, but go ahead, Tim.
I was gonna say, you kind of have to reestablish Nakamura as the number one contender somehow now, and you kind of hate to do that with the heel. Being the chaser in this situation is kind of the reverse of what you really want out of this. They can do it. They can have him win something to get the number one contender title, or Styles just gets arrogant.
Well, it's him and Daniel Bryan
like
then,
that.
maybe. I mean, Nakamura, Daniel Bryan would be the next logical one for me.
So that's where
that would be great.
I actually am okay with this, because it needs to move on. This needed to be the end. I don't want to see any more Nakamura, AJ Styles, because they're never going to match what they did previously, and I'm talking about before this company. And this is beyond its course. Like, even the fans is kind of like cooled off. It was enough with the nut shots. It's like, this was the end. So for me, if you give it to Nakamura, well, now we're going back, because AJ Styles is going to want his belt back, and you're going right back, and we got to do this for a fourth time. And it's like, people forget, this is the third time already just within this year. I don't want to see it for a fourth time. Now you keep the belt on him. As Tim just said, he can go against Joe. He can go against The Miz. I actually think they love The Miz and want to push him near the top.
I want The Miz at the top of that card.
So, and you could have Nakamura versus Daniel Bryan, and you set up two new feuds, and Daniel Bryan versus Nakamura would be terrific to watch, and I think that's why, and that's why I'm actually okay with it.
All right, if that's where they go, I'm good with it.
I just think they wasted the capital if you really wanted to push him here, and I think you had to change it, like you said, like you guys said, you had to change it now to really get effect out of it. I just don't want to see Nakamura lose that momentum like that. But like you said,
well, he won't lose it if it's Daniel Bryan.
A Bryan feud won't do that.
And I think Bryan needs that feud too. He needs somebody. You need to get rid of Cass' feud, and you need to move up a tick there. And I think that you get Nakamura, Daniel Bryan, and Samoa Joe, AJ Styles, and I think we're very happy kind of leading that into the big SummerSlam time. I think those will be very good pairings. Guys who are going to work well together. All right, last but certainly not least, Joe, Kevin, Bobby Roode, Braun Strowman, Miz, Rusev, Finn Balor, Kofi Kingston, blah, 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 blah. Our thoughts on this. First of all, let's talk about the match itself before the outcome. I know a couple big spots there, continuing to make Braun look like the monster, which he is, which is good. Throwing Kevin Owens from the very top of a giant ladder, and then Kevin Owens never being heard from again. Somewhere in parts unknown is Kevin Owens. so tell me, Tim, your feel on this one. Did you enjoy this more than the women's ladder match?
It was a very Braun-centric thing, and for not a bad reason, but I think to go with Jake said before, these matches are always going to be a little bit rehearsed and spot heavy, and you kind of look like, oh, I'm setting up this ladder this way so I can do this move and all that. So you got to appreciate them for what they are. And, Finn Balor kind of, made some nice noise again here. Kevin Owens teasing the big ladder jumps, and Braun basically murdering Kevin Owens. Remember, you have to have his epitaph in French and English. So, that's what you have to kind of, work with his gravestone there. But, yeah, I mean, Bobby Roode, whatever, he was periphery here. Miz doing his shenanigans was great. A lot of talent in the ring, you're going to get that. So I wasn't surprised. It was solid. I don't know if it'll be the greatest match of the night or anything like that. But, yeah, it did the trick for me.
How about you, Jake? Did it do the trick for you? Feel less choreographed?
It did. It's there's more experience here on a lot of different avenues of people that have done this match. Especially, and everybody got their spots except for it kind of feels as expectedly that Bobby Roode kind of got pushed aside with his. I mean, there was a little bit there, but if you looked at it, Rusev got his triple finisher. The fact that Kofi Kingston did what he was going to do, something athletic, jumped on the back of Braun, and Miz's reaction to when Braun ran through the. By the way, that was amazing when he ran through the freaking ladder. That was just cool. The Kevin Owens thing, everybody kind of got their spots. Like even said, Finn Balor, you thought for a good. That's actually, you want to take away something from that aspect, is that's what I like the most, is that I, for a while there, thought there was a legitimate chance Finn was going to win. And
that's what you want. You want that feeling.
Right. Right. And that's what I felt like. To be honest with you, I felt before, like you said, we talked about the finish and our thoughts of the finish as a whole. I thought the Miz or Finn were going to win by the looks of the match.
Well, I had picked the Miz, and Tim knows that's I feel like they tend to go with the guy they like the most, and I feel like the guy they like the most is Miz, and with good reason, and him carrying that briefcase and making that work is good, and we'll see. My whole thing is Braun's gonna have to cash it in soon, because I can't imagine this guy walking in with luggage constantly every time he comes out. It's just gonna be. He'll raise the case and go, bro. They can call him the monster in the bank.
That part of it now? Are we getting to that part?
I think we are. I mean,
yeah, let's.
Well, so I have a problem with it. Braun doesn't need the Money in the Bank.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
He's a
all right. So who needed it? Who needed it for
Finn
you?
Balor.
Samoa Joe.
I agree.
Or Joe or Balor, but I think they did.
I don't think Joe needed it. I think Finn needed it, but there's another guy too. Every time he comes out, I think I said this last week. Is he gonna go with his arms in the air with the briefcase? It's gonna be a little goofy. That's gonna be
someone gets a souvenir out of it.
The most productive thing for Money in the Bank to me is always that thing of when you get that superstar climbing the ladder and you get the crowd reaction. It tells you a lot about where we are with that particular talent and where we are with that person. And I think it's a wonderful measuring stick for the company. And sometimes a reminder too. And it would be fun actually to go back and look at last year's again and see, did they listen or not listen? And I might have to go do that. I might have to go check that out again. Go back and watch last year's when certain people went up to the top and, couldn't figure out how to clip, unclips and get a briefcase off of it. Was the crowd with them or not? And if they are, I think they need to listen a little bit more. We always say this. But, the one thing we didn't talk about is the one thing I think is the most important, which is this was the time for me that Seth could have passed off this title. I thought for sure the way they were playing up all these injuries in the ring to Seth Rollins that it was going to be, man, he wasn't 100% and he got hurt and that's why he lost. And I would have bought it hook, line, and sinker. It would have absolutely worked. Elias is ready to have that belt and he can carry it. He'll be fine with it. He's a little stiff sometimes in the ring, but depending on who you pair him with, it'll work fine. This was a missed opportunity to move Seth out of Intercontinental, move him up to the next tier, and start prepping him for that main event in SummerSlam because he's the show, man. I mean, there's nobody that comes out that everybody's more supportive of. Was this a mistake, or am I just being antsy, Jake, where I just want it now? I want it now. I want it right now, Father.
All right, Veruca, take it easy.
Yeah, all right.
I kind of think it is until we see. Like, the only reason I'll say until we see is because I thought the Alexa Bliss thing was a mistake until we saw the outcome. And so I'm optimistic that they're going to get this right. I can see reasons for not doing it yet is maybe they want to do one more at Extreme Rules or something like that. I'm not sure. Obviously, Seth has been the MVP of 2018. It's not even a question. Mm-hmm. It's probably right behind him is like Braun and The Miz, but it's definitely been Rollins. So I'm with you. I don't know if maybe they have something more in plan. Maybe it is something involved with Reigns. I don't know, but I hope it's good because I was with you. I was expecting him to drop. I was expecting the move to be made last night and the belt dropped. I also don't like how it finished. I don't like that he finished with a belt roll up, like holding on to the pants.
Yeah, that was a little weird.
The babyface tights roll up.
Yeah, I almost felt like it was missed. I don't know if that was supposed to be the end because just the fact that the reaction when like the referee, it looked like maybe that wasn't supposed to happen.
And the reaction from the crowd when you did the cutaways in the crowd. The cutaways in the crowd were very telling too because there were a lot of people going real. I saw one guy mouth. Really? Like, wow. Right. Like, people were surprised because I think
if you look at Elias at the very end, the first thing he does is turn to the referee. And it kind of looks like it was like, Really?
Yeah, it did feel a little off there, but whatever. It is what it is at this point, and Money in the Bank is done and in the books. And we'll see tonight what happens after this, and we'll be back again, obviously, on Wednesday with our recap from Raw and SmackDown and everything that happened there. Jake, I appreciate your time and you coming on, and I
You're
hope.
not special.
No, I'm not special.
He has to berate him on the way out, of course.
But I ask for this because I'm, tell everybody right now, besides on Twitter at All In Kid, where else they can get abused by you.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's where you get abused specifically by me, or you can try to listen to the podcast, and I'll probably mock you for your dumb decisions in your fantasy leagues when I'm talking about them. So you can listen to the podcast on Target, which you've had Joe on, and I'm sure Tim will be coming on. I just made him commit to it, even though he didn't even say anything about it at some
subconsciously. You're good. You're good, Jake. You're good.
He's so good, man. He's so good. All right. And also, you can check out Jake's work in the new Fantasy Football Black Book 2018.
Yes.
Black. Number 1, fantasy sports again. We did it, Jake. We're home. We're on the top of the mountain yet again. It's where we belong. I think the only thing ahead of us in terms of fantasy is Harry Potter, and we can't compete with that. No matter what we do, we'll never compete with Harry Potter.
That's a monster.
Because that's the biggest joke ever. They don't do any magic tricks.
It's fantasy sports, so it's Quidditch stuff. So Quidditch, just so everybody understands, Quidditch will always be more popular on the world stage than fantasy football.
It's like soccer versus NFL, basically.
It is. But ironically, there's less flopping in Quidditch than there is in the World Cup. So Tim and I will be back in a couple days with more In This Ring. Thanks for listening. We hope you enjoy it. And remember, kids, to be the men, you gotta beat the men, and we are the men.
Woo!
Jake, give a woo.
Woo.